I'd like to open with a couple of songs this evening. And the first one I'd like to sing with you is 238 in your songbook, You Are the Song That I Sing. You are the words and the music. You are the song that I sing. You are the melody. You are the harmony. Praise to your name I will bring. You are the Lord of lords. You are the mighty God. You are the King of all kings. So now I give back to you the song that you gave to me. You are the song that I sing. You are the words and the music. You are the song that I sing. You are the melody. You are the harmony. Praise to your name I will bring. You are the Lord of lords. You are the mighty God. You are the King of all kings. So now I give back to you the song that you gave to me. You are the song that I sing. Our next song will be 250. 250, the Great Redeemer. How I love the Great Redeemer, who is doing so much for me. With my joy I tell the story of the love that makes me free. Till my earthly life is ended, I will sing songs above. Then beside the crystal sea, more and more my soul shall be praising Jesus and His love. He is everything to me, to me. He is everything to me, and everything shall always be. I will never cease to raise a song of gladness in His praise. Here and in the world above, my soul shall sing of saving love, life and light, and joy is He, the precious friend who died for me. He has purchased my redemption, rolled my burden of sin away, and is walking on beside me, growing dearer day by day. That is why I sing His praises. That is why joy is mine. That is why forevermore on the everlasting shore I shall sing of love divine. He is everything to me, to me. He is everything to me, and everything shall always be. I will never cease to raise a song of gladness in His praise. Here and in the world above, my soul shall sing of saving love, life and light, and joy is He, the precious friend who died for me. Glory be to Him forever. Endless praises to Christ the Lamb. He has filled my life with sunshine. He has made me what I am. Oh, that everyone would know Him. Oh, that all would adore. Oh, that all would trust the love of the mighty friend above, and be His forevermore. He is everything to me, to me. He is everything to me, and everything the precious friend who died for me. Sorry for the unexpected accompaniment there. I think that's a donkey for amen. Einstein said that everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. In other words, boil things down to the essential essence, get things reduced to the simplest common denominator, get to the heart of the matter. I've listened to a lot of religious arguments over and debates over the years, and my observation is that the things we dispute over in religious contexts can be pretty intricate, and sometimes faith can feel like algebra, but it's actually not all that complicated when you get right down to it. James, a lot of people really love the Epistle of James because they feel like it's just very meaty and to the point, and it is. James, the brother of Jesus, definitely gets to the heart of the matter, and he offers a beautifully simple and elegant summary of a Christian walk that pleases God. As a matter of fact, if we go to James chapter 1, let's look at what he says in verses 26 and 27 about religion that's hitting the spot, that's on the mark. James 1, beginning in verse 26, James says, "If anyone thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their affliction and to keep oneself unstained from the world." Now let's go back through those two verses and let's pull some important things out of them. First of all, James says, you want your religion to hit the mark, watch what you say, because if you don't and you think your religion is pleasing, he says you're deceiving yourself. Now, you don't have to say a lot, but you should speak slowly and you should speak thoughtfully. Give your brain a chance to get out in front of your mouth. James 1:19, James says, "Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear and slow to speak and slow to anger." And when you've given yourself a chance to think before you speak, make sure that what you do say is beneficial, is positive. Make sure that what you say strengthens and encourages and brings other people closer to God, closer to your Lord. As in Ephesians 4:29, Paul, the apostle, says, "Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths." And boy, it's easy for it to come out. "But only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear." So that's the first thing. James says, if you want your religion to be on the spot, watch what you say. And secondly, he says, help orphans and widows. Now, does that mean if somebody's not an orphan and a widow, you can ignore their needs? No. He's saying in so many words, look for the underdogs around you and seek to lift them up. Jesus is very, very adamant about this toward the end of the Gospel of Matthew, as a matter of fact. In Matthew chapter 25, let's look at what Jesus says about religion that hits the mark. Matthew 25, beginning in verse 34, look at what Jesus says. He says, "Then the king will say to those on his right, 'Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me.' Then the righteous will answer him, saying, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?' And the king will say to them, 'Truly, I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me.'" So we've got to have a heart for the needs around us if we want our religion to have value. And thirdly, James says, don't participate in the worldliness around you. He says, keep yourself unstained by the world. Paul says it this way. It's easy to, as I've said before, it's easy to see God's grace as a get out of jail card. We can go out and do whatever we want. Grace is an indulgence. It allows us to sin and not have to pay the price. But Paul says in James, in Romans chapter 6, verses 1 and 2, you've died to sin, don't live in it anymore. In Romans 6, verse 1, Paul says, what shall we say then? Are we to continue in sin that grace may abound? Is God's grace just an excuse to do whatever we want? By no means. How can we who died to sin still live in it? So if your religion is pure, you'll keep your words right. You'll keep your actions right. And you'll lovingly serve the needy around you. You'll lovingly have a heart for good works and service. And you'll find that this creates opportunities to share your faith. If your religion is pure, moreover, all this sounds like Jesus because it's like Jesus. If your religion is pure, you'll imitate Jesus. As John the Apostle says in 1 John 2, verse 6, whoever says he abides in him ought to walk in the same way in which he walked.